It was a humid morning in Washington, D.C., when a bundle of newspapers fell like a thunderclap across the Capitol steps, carrying a story that would crack the gilded face of post-war politics. By the time they landed, the Transcontinental Railroad, heralded as America's iron promise, had become the vehicle for one of the most brazen financial conspiracies of the 19th century. The tale begins in the smoke and timber of the Union Pacific's offices in the 1860s, where insiders created a separate construction company with a French-sounding name, Credit Mobilier of America, ostensibly the contractor building the rails west from Omaha. Credit Mobilier was in truth a shell. Its directors were the same men running Union Pacific. They awarded contracts to themselves, set wildly inflated prices, and funneled federal subsidies and investor cash into private pockets. The conspiracy depended on Washington's appetite for spectacle and the fragile new nation's hunger to unite coasts. The Pacific Railway Acts of the 1860s had promised loans, land grants, and political blessing to any company that could lay track across plains and mountain. Credit Mobilier exploited those subsidies. Rather than leave profits to outside shareholders or honest construction costs, Union Pacific executives siphoned off the overcharges into Credit's ledgers. But it was the politics that made the scheme indestructible, until reporters and a few principled investigators pried at its seams. To quiet scrutiny and secure favorable legislation, Credit Mobilier distributed highly desirable stock and discounted shares to influential congressmen, to cabinet allies, and even to the Vice President of the United States, Schuyler Colfax. Those gifts were not charity. They were the currency of complicity. Men who might otherwise ask questions instead accepted shares, votes, and silence. The story erupted publicly in 1872 with newspaper exposés that printed ledgers and letters. The smell of graft reached every corridor. The man who arranged many of the transactions was Congressman Oakes Ames of Massachusetts, a Union Pacific booster whose name would come to symbolize the scandal. The House responded. It formed an investigating committee, chaired by a young congressman named James A. Garfield. The hearings, held in 1873, read like a courtroom drama. Witnesses produced receipts and memoranda. Stock certificates passed between political heavyweights. A map of influence emerged that linked the rails to the very halls of power. The committee's findings were sweeping. Several members of Congress were shown to have accepted stock. Some were harshly censured. Oakes Ames bore the brunt of public fury. The House formally condemned his conduct. Vice President Colfax was implicated. Others saw reputations stained, though not all were criminally prosecuted. The spectacle did not reach everyone who profited. Some of the railroad's founders and Wall Street financiers managed to escape the worst legal consequences, but the political costs were undeniable. The Credit Mobilier affair did more than punish a handful of men. It ripped a hole in public faith during the fragile Reconstruction era, demonstrating that the nation's vast federal projects could be manipulated by private gain. Newspapers howled. Reformers seized the moment to demand cleaner government. Credit Mobilier helped harden a national conversation about corruption that would, over the next decade, contribute to civil service reforms and a sustained critique of spoils politics. Still, the rails kept going west. People cheered the steam and steel as towns sprouted and commerce flowed. But beneath every triumph of engineering, the scandal lingered as proof that America's industrial expansion had a shadow economy. Favors for favors, stock for silence, contracts for votes. The Credit Mobilier conspiracy was not merely a story of crooked accountants and greedy contractors. It was a lesson in how infrastructural ambition and political power can combine to create a market for corruption. And the papers that morning on the Capitol steps made sure the country never quite forgot it.